Hello, and welcome to the M.O.W. channel. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most shocking frauds to ever shake the 21st century financial world. He was a brilliant MIT-trained mathematician, a young man who captured global admiration by promoting effective altruism, the idea of earning money only to give it away. At just 29, he built a massive crypto empire called FTX and used his multi-billion-dollar fortune to gain influence in politics. His name Sam Bankman-Fried, better known as SBF. But behind all that dazzling success, something darker was brewing. There was a hidden pipeline funneling customer funds straight into his trading firm, M.O.W. Research. And once the structural corruption behind FTX's shiny image began to surface, his empire was already on a full-speed collision course with disaster. It took just one tweet from a rival CEO to trigger a massive bank run that collapsed FTX almost overnight. Within weeks, SBF went from billionaire superstar to criminal defendant, arrest, guilty verdict, and finally 25 years in federal prison. Today, on our Mystery Case Report, we trace SBF's rise, the building of his empire, the lies and betrayal that followed, its final collapse, and the judgment that closed the curtain on this modern white-collar tragedy, all told through 5 chapters: beginning, development, crisis, climax, and conclusion. How did the poster boy of crypto become one of the biggest fraudsters of our time? Let's dig into the shocking truth. Sam Bankman-Fried's story isn't just another financial scandal. It's a case study in how new technology and noble-sounding ideals can create enormous wealth and just as easily bring about catastrophic downfall. He was born March 5, 1992, in Stanford, California. His parents, Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried, were both professors at Stanford Law School, an environment steeped in intellect and high expectations. Growing up in this academically driven Jewish household, SBF was surrounded by ideas, debate, and excellence from a young age. His talent, especially in math, showed early. He attended the Canada USA Math Camp, a summer program for gifted students, and graduated from Crystal Springs Upland School in California. In 2014, he earned a bachelor's degree in physics with a minor in math from MIT. While at MIT, he lived in the co-ed group house Epsilon Theta, known for its quirky but intellectual community. This environment sharpened the analytical skills that later helped him excel as a quantitative trader. SBF's career began in the summer of 2013 as an intern at Jane Street Capital, a proprietary trading firm specializing in ETFs. After graduating from MIT, he returned to Jane Street full-time and quickly earned a reputation as a successful trader. There, he learned the mechanics of complex financial markets and high-frequency trading skills that would become the foundation of his crypto empire. During this period, he also became deeply committed to the philosophy of effective altruism, not just donating to charity, but doing so based on data-driven calculations about how to help the most people. He once said his goal was to earn to give, and he reportedly donated about half of his salary to various charities, especially those focused on existential risks like pandemics, nuclear war, and artificial intelligence. This moral image became a powerful part of his public persona. In September 2017, he left Jane Street and briefly worked as Director of Development at the Center for Effective Altruism. Then, in November 2017, with funding from billionaire programmer John Tolan and investor Luke Dingen with CEA's Tara Healy as a co-founder, he launched M.O.W. Research, a quantitative crypto trading firm. M.O.W.'s first major breakthrough came in early 2018, when SBF spotted a price gap between US and Japanese Bitcoin markets. He ran massive arbitrage trades, reportedly moving up to $25 million a day, earning huge profits. This was how he built his first fortune. Riding on M.O.W.'s success, SBF founded FTX, a crypto derivatives exchange, in April 2019 and launched it the following month. After attending a crypto conference in Macau, he moved to Hong Kong and focused on building FTX into a major global platform. By September 2021, he relocated FTX and its senior staff to the Bahamas, widely seen as a move toward a friendlier regulatory environment. As FTX grew, so did SBF's reputation. He landed on Forbes 30 Under 30 list and later appeared on the Forbes 400. At the peak of his wealth, he was hailed as the face of the crypto revolution. A key part of his rise came from positioning himself as a champion of crypto regulation. In December 2021, he testified before the U.S. House Financial Services Committee about regulating the crypto industry. Meanwhile, he poured enormous amounts of money into U.S. politics. In the 2020 presidential race, he became the second largest individual donor to Joe Biden's campaign. During the 2021-2022 election cycle, he donated tens of millions to Democrats and secretly funded Republicans through dark money, As he later admitted, he framed these donations as efforts to promote pandemic prevention and effective altruism. But in reality, many believe they were aimed at shaping a regulatory landscape favorable to FTX. Notably, he pushed for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission (CFTC) to play a bigger role in crypto regulation, widely seen as a more industry-friendly agency than the SEC. All of this is math genius, Wall Street training, aggressive expansion, political influence, and feel-good altruistic branding created the perfect storm for FTX's explosive rise, but hidden beneath that success was the deadly connection between Alameda Research and FTX, the flaw that would eventually destroy everything. While Sam Bankman-Fried SBF was building his global crypto empire under the moral banner of effective altruism, something far more dangerous was happening at the core of his business. On the surface, FTX and Alameda Research looked like two separate, independent companies, but in reality, they operated as a single giant financial machine, controlled entirely by SBF. This dual structure setup created the perfect cover for him to deceive customers and investors. FTX was a major global exchange, offering crypto futures, options, and spot trading, holding customer deposits just like any other exchange. Alameda Research, on the other hand, was a quantitative trading firm that SBF owned about 90% of. It used sophisticated algorithms to exploit market inefficiencies and conduct massive trades. Alameda wasn't just FTX's biggest customer or liquidity provider, it had a special role that went way beyond anything a normal customer would ever get. 1. Special treatment inside FTX. The unlimited credit line. The key to the entire collapse lies in a piece of FTX's internal system that SBF personally ordered, a hidden exception built into the platform that applied to Alameda alone. Normally, traders on an exchange have to put up collateral to borrow funds or use leverage. If their collateral falls too low, they get a margin call or their positions get liquidated. But SBF instructed his top lieutenants, FTX co-founder Gary Wang and chief engineer Nishad Singh, to secretly change the code. So these rules did not apply to Alameda. Both men later testified in court that they made these changes under SBF's direction. This modified code gave Alameda what was essentially an unlimited credit line. SBF later tried to justify it by saying the feature existed only to prevent bad liquidations during volatile markets, and that Alameda was treated just like everyone else. But in reality, Alameda gained the ability to pull up to $65 billion of customer assets without providing any collateral at all. When Alameda suffered losses, those losses were quietly absorbed by FTX customer deposits. Internal sources later revealed that Alameda had borrowed around $10 billion in customer funds, showing just how dangerous the setup really was. 2. How Alameda secretly tapped into customer funds fiat deposits. Alameda had another access point to customer money through FTX's fiat deposit system. Because FTX operated globally, it was often difficult for customers to wire money directly to an exchange-owned bank account. To get around this, FTX told customers to send their dollar and euro deposits to Alameda Research or payment processors working with Alameda. Customers assumed this money was safely stored and then transferred to their FTX accounts, or at the very least, kept untouched in a bank. Even SBF testified in court that he assumed the funds were being held in bank accounts or sent to FTX, but that wasn't true. Alameda simply kept the money and used it as operating cash. And because FTX's internal accounting systems didn't properly log this as a loan owed by Alameda, the missing billions were effectively hidden. Important financial dashboards didn't reflect the true size of Alameda's liabilities. This wasn't an accident, it was a deliberate system, designed to disguise the misuse of customer funds. Other FTX executives later admitted they didn't fully understand how fiat deposits were handled, but ultimately, all roads led to one decision maker, SBF. 3. Where the stolen money went. The billions siphoned through Alameda weren't used just for trading. They were used to expand SBF's power and inflate the appearance of the FTX empire. Political influence. SBF used customer money to make massive political donations. He gave $27 million to the Democratic PAC, Protect Our Future, and during the 2022 midterms he became the second largest individual donor in the U.S., giving around $39.8 million. He also admitted to donating large amounts to Republicans through dark money channels. Prosecutors later charged him with using $100 million in stolen customer funds for political contributions. These donations helped push crypto-friendly legislation like the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act. Investments and real estate. SBF invested hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital deals, including $500 million into AI firm Anthropic. He also invested heavily in VC firms such as Sequoia Capital. Alameda funds were used to buy luxury real estate in the Bahamas for SBF and other FTX executives. Personal image and branding. Caroline Ellison, Alameda's CEO, testified that SBF's messy hair, t-shirts, and casual appearance were a carefully crafted part of his image. It helped the media portray him as a humble math nerd and ethical billionaire, reinforcing the effective altruism narrative that won the trust of investors and politicians. 4. The gap between his public persona and his private beliefs. As the scandal unfolded, the true nature of SBF's beliefs became clear. After FTX collapsed, private Twitter messages between SBF and journalist Kelsey Piper were leaked. In them, SBF admitted that his pro-regulation stance was mostly PR. Regulators make everything worse and don't protect customers. Ethics were mostly a front. Morality was just a dumb game we woke Westerners play so people will like us. These revelations completely contradicted the altruistic, rule-following persona he promoted publicly. SBF also tried to shift some blame onto Caroline Ellison, claiming he wasn't aware of everything happening inside Alameda. But since every major decision required his approval, the responsibility ultimately rested with him. Behind all the moral branding and public good guy image, the truth was simple. SBF had been running a massive, fraudulent operation that was headed straight for collapse. Sam Bankman-Fried SBF built FTX into what looked like a massive empire, but underneath the impressive exterior was a fragile foundation. An improper credit line that allowed Alameda Research to freely tap into customer funds. This structural flaw remained hidden until November 2022. When a series of external shocks exposed everything and sent the company spiraling into a full-blown crisis. The breaking point came when Changpeng Zhao, CZ CEO of Binance, FTX's biggest rival and an early investor, made a very public move. 1. The CoinDesk report on the weakness of the FTT token. The crisis began in early November 2022. CoinDesk, a major financial media company, published an explosive report on Alameda Research's balance sheet. The key finding: most of Alameda's assets were tied up in FTT-FTX token, a cryptocurrency created and issued by FTX itself and other low-liquidity tokens. FTT was used within the FTX ecosystem for things like fee discounts, governance, and VIP perks, but its value ultimately depended on the success of FTX and the trust people had in SBF. According to the report, Alameda's single largest asset was $3.66 billion worth of unlocked FTT. When adding FTT used as collateral, the exposure was even larger. In other words, Alameda had been using FTT, the company's own token, as a major source of collateral for borrowing and investments. This raised two huge red flags. Alameda's financial stability depended almost entirely on one asset, issued by a related party, FTX. If FTT's price ever dropped, Alameda wouldn't be able to pay back its debts, putting FTX customer funds at risk and creating a dangerous circular trading situation. Investors began comparing Alameda's balance sheet to a house of cards. 2. CZ's decisive tweet and the spread of panic. A few days later, on November 6, 2022, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, CZ, took action. He tweeted that Binance would liquidate all of its FTT holdings. Binance had received about $529 million worth of FTT in 2021 when it exited its equity investment in FTX, and now CZ was saying that, due to recent revelations, the company no longer wanted to hold such a risky asset. That tweet set off a massive wave of FUD fear, uncertainty, and doubt. SBF and CZ had already been clashing publicly over regulation and other issues, so the announcement was seen not just as a business move, but as a direct challenge. Since FTT had relatively low trading volume, the market couldn't absorb Binance's huge position. A price collapse was inevitable. Immediately after CZ's tweet, the market panicked. FTT's price plummeted. Investors began doubting FTX's ability to meet withdrawals. Users rushed to pull their money out an all-out bank run. Within just 24 hours, billions of dollars in withdrawal requests hit FTX, and the exchange simply didn't have the cash to cover them. FTX's liquidity crisis became impossible to hide. 3. The liquidity crisis deepens in SBF's false assurances. As the situation escalated, SBF tried to calm users on November 7 and 8 through Twitter. He insisted that FTX is fine. Assets are fine. FTX never invests customer assets. But these statements were false. In reality, Alameda had secretly borrowed around $10 billion in customer funds from FTX to cover losses and make bets. That money was gone, and FTX didn't have enough liquid assets to fulfill the massive withdrawal requests. These misleading tweets later became key evidence in SBF's fraud case, because they showed he knowingly lied to customers. As panic grew, FTT lost about 80% of its value in a single day, and the broader crypto market was shaken. SBF's reputation as the crypto savior, built during the pandemic when he bailed out struggling companies, collapsed overnight. 4. Binance's temporary buyout offer and the reversal that sealed FTX's fate. With FTX on the verge of collapse, SBF scrambled for a way out. On November 8, he announced that Binance had signed a non-binding agreement to acquire FTX. For a moment, the market calmed. CZ tweeted that Binance would begin due diligence and warned that crypto exchanges should avoid using tokens as collateral. But less than 24 hours later, on November 9, Binance backed out. The reason? After reviewing FTX's books, Binance found a much deeper financial hole than expected, evidence of customer funds being misused, and reports that U.S. regulators were already preparing investigations. Binance said publicly that the issues were beyond our control or ability to help. That reversal was the final blow. With Binance out, FTX had no remaining lifelines. No major investor was willing to cover the enormous losses, especially with regulators closing in. SBF's net worth dropped from tens of billions to nearly zero within days. At this point, FTX could no longer meet customer withdrawals. Regulators launched investigations, and the collapse shifted from a business failure to a criminal matter. SBF's image as an effective altruist and savior of the crypto industry shattered completely under the weight of a bank run and CZ's decisive tweet. Binance's decision to walk away from the acquisition completely wiped out any remaining hope for Sam Bankman-Fried's SBF-FTX empire. With the liquidity crisis now beyond repair, the situation quickly shifted from a business collapse to a full-blown legal and criminal battle. This chapter traces the intense chain of events from FTX's bankruptcy filing, to SBF's arrest, and finally to the beginning of one of the biggest white-collar trials in modern history. 1. FTX files for bankruptcy and John J. Ray 3 steps in. On November 11, 2022, the fall of FTX became official. FTX, Alameda Research, and more than 130 related entities filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware. It was immediately recognized as one of the largest and most complicated bankruptcies in the history of the crypto industry. That same day, SBF resigned as CEO of the FTX Group. He was replaced by John J. Ray 3, a restructuring expert known for handling major corporate disasters including the infamous Enron bankruptcy in the early 2000s. Ray's appointment signaled a shift. The goal was no longer to save FTX, but to recover as many assets as possible for customers and creditors. Ray's first sworn statement to the bankruptcy court stunned everyone. He declared, "I've never seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a total absence of trustworthy financial information in my entire career." According to Ray, FTX lacked even basic financial records. Company funds were mixed with personal spending. Huge loans were given without oversight, and SBF himself had taken a $1 billion personal loan from Alameda. These revelations made it clear that the collapse wasn't bad luck. It was the result of massive misconduct and mismanagement at the highest levels. 2. SBF is arrested and extradited from the Bahamas. After the bankruptcy filing, U.S. authorities moved quickly. On the evening of December 12, 2022, SBF was arrested by the Royal Bahamas Police at his luxury apartment complex in New Providence. The arrest happened one day before he was supposed to testify before the U.S. House Financial Services Committee about FTX's collapse. The arrest came after federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York issued a criminal indictment charging him with wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis stated that both the U.S. and the Bahamas had a shared interest in holding accountable anyone involved in betraying the public trust through FTX. After being detained in the notoriously harsh Fox Hill prison, SBF agreed after 10 days to be extradited to the United States to face trial. 3. Bail in the U.S. and additional charges. In late December 2022, once extradited, SBF appeared in federal court in New York. He was released on a record-setting $250 million bond, one of the highest in U.S. criminal history. One of the conditions, he had to stay under house arrest at his parents' home in California. On January 3, 2023, SBF pleaded not guilty to fraud and the other charges. But things quickly got worse for him. In February and March 2023, prosecutors filed new charges, including illegal political donations, bribing Chinese officials with about $40 million in crypto to unfreeze Alameda's trading accounts. These new charges further tightened the legal noose around him. 4. Witness tampering accusations and bail revocation. While preparing his defense from his parents' home, SBF found himself back in trouble. In July 2023, Prosecutors accused him of witness tampering after he leaked private writings from Caroline Ellison, the former Alameda CEO and a key witness to a reporter. Judge Lewis Kaplan ruled that SBF's actions posed a serious threat to the integrity of the trial. On August 11, 2023, he revoked SBF's bail and ordered him to be taken into custody immediately. SBF was handcuffed and taken out of the courtroom, then transferred to the Metropolitan Detention Center (MDC) in Brooklyn. His legal team argued that the jail's conditions, his vegan diet, lack of ADHD medication, and limited access to case materials made preparing for trial extremely difficult. 5. The trial of the century, United States v. Bankman-Fried. On October 3, 2023, the trial officially began in the Daniel Patrick Moynihan U.S. Courthouse in Manhattan, overseen by Judge Lewis Kaplan. The media framed the trial as a test of whether SBF was a criminal mastermind or just a clueless, unlucky math nerd. Prosecutors claimed SBF stole billions from FTX customers by funneling their deposits into Alameda for investments, political donations, and luxury real estate. The defense argued that SBF was an overwhelmed but well-meaning entrepreneur who made mistakes during a chaotic market crash and that he never intended to commit fraud. The prosecution's star witnesses were devastating to SBF's case. More than a dozen former FTX and Alameda executives testified, including Caroline Ellison, Alameda CEO, and SBF's ex-girlfriend, Gary Wang, FTX co-founder, Nishad Singh, FTX engineering director. All had already pleaded guilty and cooperated with prosecutors. Gary Wang testified that SBF ordered him to make a few small code changes that secretly allowed Alameda to access FTX customer funds, and that they lied to the public about it. Caroline Ellison admitted SBF told her to send lenders misleading balance sheets. The climax came when SBF himself took the stand. He insisted he didn't realize Alameda's access to customer funds would cause harm and denied having criminal intent. But prosecutors countered with evidence like his private comments, dismissing ethics as affront and his public FTX's fine tweet during the liquidity crisis to show he knowingly deceived the public. The trial became a fierce battle that ultimately sealed SBF's downfall. In the eyes of the law, countless witness testimonies and the defendant's own attempts at defense collided in the courtroom during the case of United States v. Bankman-Fried, which finally came to an end on November 2, 2023. After the trial wrapped up, the jury needed only a few hours of deliberation before finding Sam Bankman-Fried, better known as SBF, guilty on all 7 charges. These included conspiracy to commit wire fraud, securities fraud, commodities fraud, and money laundering conspiracy, covering a massive scheme that deceived both FTX customers and investors. This verdict officially confirmed that SBF's downfall wasn't just a management mistake or a market collapse. It was a deliberate, large-scale fraud carried out by the person at the very top. One of the biggest white-collar crimes of the century. The guilty verdict sent shockwaves through Wall Street and the entire crypto industry. SBF's scheme involved misappropriating billions of dollars in customer funds and funneling them into Alameda Research's risky trades, political donations, and even his own personal luxuries. Some compared him to Bernie Madoff of the crypto world, highlighting just how massive and damaging this case was. Right after the verdict, federal sentencing experts predicted SBF could face decades in prison, given the enormous financial damage. The testimony of his former colleagues who cut plea deals and testified for the prosecution played a key role in sealing his conviction. It became a clear example of how betrayal inside a criminal organization can become the turning point in a courtroom. 2. Sentencing: 25 years in prison and $11 billion in forfeiture. The sentencing hearing took place on March 28, 2024. Judge Lewis Kaplan sentenced SBF to 25 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay $11.02 billion in forfeitures as a form of restitution for victims. The judge noted that SBF showed no genuine remorse, pointing out his repeated attempts to justify his actions publicly and shift blame onto others. Because of federal good time credits and programs like the First Step Act, experts estimate he might actually serve about 18 years behind bars. Ahead of sentencing, his parents Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried sent a letter to the judge asking for leniency, claiming SBF would face extreme danger in prison due to his difficulty understanding social cues, but their plea had no impact on the final sentence. 3. Life behind bars and new controversies. After sentencing, SBF was assigned inmate number 37,244-510. During his appeal process, he requested to remain at the Metropolitan Detention Center (MDC) in Brooklyn. Early on, his defense team raised concerns about his vegan diet and lack of ADHD medication. Later, he was reportedly able to access both along with cans of mackerel from the commissary. which he used as currency in the prison's informal mackerel economy. In March 2025, SBF created new controversy by participating in an interview with Tucker Carlson on Fox News without approval from prison officials. During the interview, he emphasized that some of his donations had gone to Republican causes and indirectly suggested that former President Donald Trump should pardon him. For this violation, he was placed in solitary confinement and then transferred from New York to FCI Terminal Island, a low-security federal prison in Los Angeles. This incident showed that even behind bars, SBF continued trying to influence the outside world and reshape his public narrative. 4. Ongoing legal battles, appeals and motions for a new trial. SBF's story didn't end with sentencing. On April 11, 2024, he filed an appeal challenging both his conviction and his 25-year sentence. His legal team must now convince the higher court that Judge Kaplan made serious errors that denied SBF a fair trial, an uphill battle that could take years. On September 13, 2024, his attorneys filed a motion for a new trial, claiming the judge was biased, mocked the defense, and pressured the jury by offering meals and transportation during deliberations to speed up a verdict. On November 4, 2025, attorneys argued before the Federal Appeals Court that SBF's guilty verdict was based on a presumption of guilt and should therefore be overturned. The court has not yet issued a decision, and the outcome could set major legal precedents for future crypto-related crimes. 5. Recovering customer assets and clawing back political donations. While SBF sits in prison, the new leadership at FTX has been working through bankruptcy to recover assets for customers and creditors. By April 2023, they had already recovered $7.3 billion in liquid assets, an astonishing amount considering the original estimated hole was around $8 billion. In October 2023, FTX proposed a repayment plan, estimating that customers of both FTX, and FTX US could recover more than 90% of the distributable value. Meanwhile, FTX's new management began legal efforts to claw back the tens of millions of dollars in political and charitable donations made by SBF and former executives. Under U.S. bankruptcy law, payments made within 90 days before bankruptcy can often be recovered. Some politicians, like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, chose to donate the funds to charity. Others, like former Texas gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke, returned the money even before the scandal went public. The fallout from SBF's crimes continues to unravel his entire network of financial relationships. Final narrative for your YouTube outro. Ladies and gentlemen, today we followed the dramatic rise and fall of Sam Bankman-Fried. SBF. Once praised as a math genius and a champion of effective altruism, he was secretly moving billions in customer funds through Alameda Research for high-risk trades, political influence, and personal gain. A single tweet from a rival triggered a full-blown bank run. The FTX empire collapsed. SBF was arrested in the Bahamas, and ultimately, after devastating testimony from his closest allies, he was found guilty on all 7 charges and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Today, he continues to fight his conviction from behind bars, while victims and creditors slowly recover what they can. The SBF case isn't just a financial scandal. It's a harsh reminder of how moral language can be used as the perfect mask for greed, deception, and unchecked power. The crypto world is still dealing with the aftermath, and the trust that was lost may take years to rebuild. Please subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to like the video and hit the notification bell. This has been your Mystery Case Report. Thank you for watching, and we'll uncover another shocking case next time.